following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
Thank you, Tally Olson, and I am indeed the man with the gall. The gall of the man, I've been told all my life. Mostly when I ask for 100% of what I want, 100% of the time. And there are very few people that respond positively to people with gall, so I'm glad to have an audience to talk to that does. I am Ralph Tyko. It's Comfortably Zoned Radio Network, and I have a guest today. He's one of the few people that I could call Homey, who isn't my brother, that is literally a homie. Eric Chapman, welcome back to the airwaves.
How you doing, Ralphie boy?
I'm all right. Let's talk about how closely our lives have, without ever having seen each other. You were so much younger than I was. You lived in the same apartment, in the same building, in different times. I lived upstairs at the time. My family bought the apartment that your family later bought. They moved upstairs with us, and we had the same experiences. A lot of the same people were there when I grew up, then was there when you grew up. But more importantly, the vibes of the building, the sounds of what you hear. Was like the apartment 201, we're talking, is right near the elevator. So, right. And I think we had, as kids, at different times, of course, the same room. And we hear that elevator, it was a distinctive humming, and you could hear it start and stop on the floor or keep going, and it was almost hypnotic. And right. And also the terrain of the lobby and the floors, all linoleum, all skating terrain, and we both at separate times learned to skate. We learned to go up and down the stairs. We had the same experiences at different times. It's ironic, and it's very cool. Now, it wasn't just the terrain. I learned something about you today that I have in common with you, and that is that you babysitted when you were a kid. And as did I in the building. And very few men get the experience of babysitting. It's basically a little girl's job. For whatever.
I've never done it before.
Pardon?
It was like my first time ever babysitting a kid.
Right.
But we used to the people down the hall, they used to have me watch their cats. They would go away for like a month, and I used to go to their house and watch their cats for them. A younger couple, right down the hall. They'd weed around the house, and they were like real hippies, you know. And I had the keys to their apartment. How great is that? It was 1976, summer of 76. I go there and watch the Olympics and dick around in their house. They had 5 cats I had to feed and take care of, you know. But all the neighborhood kids, they came up and we all hung out.
Very, very cool.
I think he wrote a book. He wrote a book, the guy. He hung out with a gang in New York City, and he wrote a book about it called The Reaper, I think it was.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He's always going to the park with his basketball. You know, kind of Mr. Cotter looking kind of dude.
Right. And you got to and he was how old? Probably in his mid-20s.
They were in their 20s, and his wife used to come down the hall and sit with my mother, and they'd be talking. They used to hang out, you know. My mother was probably in her 40s at the time, and I think she was like 28. Barbara was her name, you know, real good-looking lady. They had a daughter.
I want to ask you, Eric, did babysitting children, the one time you did it make you know that you were potential parents, that you'd be good at it?
Oh, no. God, no. I was a goofy kid, Ralphie. It was, the kid went to sleep, and I remember sitting there. I was watching the Rolling Stones at Altamont when they came home late at night, you know what I mean?
Right.
I think they were up on the 4th floor, down at the end. That overlooked the sitting area, one of those apartments.
Oh,
just
okay.
at the time.
I was down.
You know what I told you about what happened there right after at the end of the night, and that was it. I never went over there again. Stuck in my mind, though. You know, I was 15 years old. You know, the guy was kind of weird. He was a big fat dude, looked like Elvis with the sideburns, and always just to sit in the sitting area and like watch us riding skateboards and I can't remember their names at all. I remember the cat people, though. That was Barbara and Gary. You know, they were really cool. I don't know if they're still together.
Maybe they're still in Northridge.
Northridge, you know, good stuff.
Good stuff.
You know, all that stuff, it always stayed with me when I left for the Navy. Everything went back to Northridge. When I'm in Italy eating pizza, I'm comparing the pizza to Pizza Sam. If it's, you know, that was my, that was the bar right there. Pizza Sam pizza for me.
Pizza Sam was
Pizza
good.
Sam,
I'm telling you, we had talked about this before. Really close to Pizza Sam was Frank's.
Yeah, I didn't know Frank's. Or if I did go there, it didn't stick with me. Not like
on Roosevelt Avenue and about 90th Street. I recall. And
90th Street and where? Not on Northern Boulevard.
No, on Roosevelt Avenue.
All right, I didn't hang up there really, I don't think.
Well, we had to go there to get to Newtown. We take the Newtown walk. And
remember the Newtown walk?
Yeah.
And it wasn't very good at the Newtown walk.
Neither was I. I hated that more than you can imagine.
I did 9th grade annex, and by 10th grade, I didn't even go. That was like my last year. I skipped out for 3 months, and then I went back to school, and they didn't even realize I was gone. Those are the kind of classes that they stuck me in. I was done. By then, by 10th grade, I was lifting weights at night and drinking my dad's beer and watching Odd Couple and Honeymooners at night.
At least you had good taste in what you watched. There was a lot of junk on, but those two shows were absolutely terrific.
Remember Cab Driver? I told him I was going to the Navy. It was all just before I left. I was like 16 at the time. I didn't even turn 17 yet. And he's like, you'll do fine, he told me. He said, you know, you could take anybody from New York City and you could put them anywhere in the world. But you can't take anybody from around the world and put them in New York City. That's what he told me, like before I left for boot camp.
Oh,
and I always thought of that, you know.
Right. That is some very, very good advice and some good knowledge.
He fit good in there. And all at boot camp, it was like 75 people, I think. You know, it was about 6 of us that were like from New York City. My buddy next to me, Gary Collins, was a black dude. One of them cock-strong black dudes, all muscular. He was 24 years old, which was old to me, you know, as a 17-year-old. Right. We all stuck together, you know.
Nice, nice. You know, I went to the Air Force. It was almost yours was voluntary. Luckily, the war was going on. I was about to be drafted, but that's what got us out of the heights. And the irony is we both live different sides of the country. We both live in small towns. I mean, not that Syracuse
used to live on the West
that
Coast,
small.
though.
Pardon me?
I was in Washington State for quite a while.
Yeah. What part of Washington were you in? I don't remember.
Yeah, I was in Arlington. I was stationed there, too, north of Seattle, just south of Vancouver, British Columbia. I get closer to Vancouver, British Columbia, to the border there.
Boy, I have some, as you know, we talked about this. I worked for Topps in the 80s and 90s, and I would go to the Northwest League and sign players and give them contracts and what have you. And I'm so familiar with the part of the country that you lived in. And for those of you that is really God's country. It is the most beautiful terrain, Oregon as well, but especially Washington. I don't know what brought you back east, but you're in country that you get the snow as well as in Washington. So which do you like more? I guess you like Syracuse more.
Yeah, I like them. I still have a lot of friends there. They came here. They visit me here. They drive cross country and come visit me. Show up right at my doorstep.
Nice.
Buddy Jeffro from Seattle.
Yeah. Hey, let's talk Syracuse ball for a little bit. First of all, your daughter just graduated from Syracuse. Am I correct?
Yes, sir. Last May.
I will say mazel tov to that. That's pretty damn
What a graduation. God, it was 2 days long, 6,000 students. It was pretty brutal.
Right. Nice, though. Hughes has a reputation that very few other colleges have, in the sense that they develop ball players, a lot of good ball players come out of Syracuse. Don't have to start with Jimmy Brown and what have you. Dolph Shays sent his kid to Syracuse, Danny Shays, a whole bunch of great ball players, but they also develop announcers. They have a communication branch or school up there that is part of
Bob Costas. A lot of guys come out of there.
Right. So I always admired that. And when I was a kid, the legend of Jimmy Brown, he was in his prime. And if anybody bought Sport magazine in those days, there was an article twice a year about Jimmy Brown. He dominated football. And again, Syracuse and the legend about Jimmy Brown, and you can elaborate on this, football wasn't his best sport.
No, I played lacrosse, man.
He was an All-American in lacrosse, and great at that. He played a little basketball as well. Great athlete. I'm going to give you quickly a Jimmy Brown story at Syracuse. He was hanging in the student athlete cafeteria, and there was a new woman that didn't know him and working there, and she comes up to him and mistakes him for someone else. Says, "This is the student athlete cafeteria, and for the student athletes athletic program cafeteria." That's what it was. And he looks up at her and smiles and says, "I am the Syracuse athletic department." So pretty confident guy.
They love him here, man.
Yeah, absolutely. But to be current in terms of what Syracuse is up to, what they do last night? Did they beat Duke or what?
You know it. That was a huge game. We were huge underdogs, and Syracuse is not even ranked. And we just took out number 1 Duke on Chapel Hill. We lost last week to Georgia Tech. We've been losing games to, like, Buffalo, non-ranked schools, you know. And then we come up like this last night. It was huge. You know Jimmy Boeheim, right? His kid Buddy plays for the team.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, Buddy Boeheim.
If I'm not mistaken, you talk about how things go back. Did he play with Dave Bing? Did he?
Talking Jim Boeheim, yeah.
Yeah, Boeheim with Dave Bing.
Yeah.
So there's a link to athletics that is incredible. Dave Bing, probably the most successful athlete I can think of after his career. He becomes the mayor of Detroit, Dave Bing does, and he has some sort of business that makes him very wealthy. Whatever it is, Dave Bing was a very successful guy and a terrific ball player. So what do you suppose brought on that win? Was it just it all came together?
Yeah, when it all came together, huge shots. I mean, they were hitting them, basically. You know, it was a nail biter. I mean, we had them. They were winning us back and forth. Then we went to overtime. I thought, oh shit, man, they're gonna put us away in overtime. And we came out, and we didn't let off the gas. You know.
Right.
It's a
now,
big
did you
win.
get that on television?
No, I streamed that one. So a lot of the games usually are, but this one I streamed online.
Okay.
We played Cornell too, and Jim Boeheim Jr. plays for Cornell, and Buddy Boeheim and Jim Boeheim Sr. For SU. So that was a pretty good game there. We clocked them pretty good though, Cornell. Yeah. And we have Adrian Autry's kids playing for us. Adrian Autry played with us back in the days. Now his kid's playing for us, Adrian Autry Jr. From Queens, New York.
Queens, New York. Where
yeah.
I'm surprised that he wouldn't have gone to St. John's.
Nah, his dad, they're from up here. I mean, his dad works for Jim Boeheim, you know.
Oh, okay.
So they're coming up here. He doesn't have a choice. He's coming up here regardless.
Okay.
You know, Buddy Boeheim is good. Jimmy B's son there, I mean, he's a starter. He's not just riding the bench. You know?
He's that good.
Tyus Battle, he's our guy. He's our go-to guy. Elijah Hughes, who doesn't play much, but right at halftime, he let off a three-quarter shot and nailed it. You could see it on YouTube. I could send it to you.
All right, send me a link.
It said with 1 second left, Elijah Hughes, he buried this thing, three-quarters court.
Very cool.
I could find this here for you.
The
game last night.
Mets.
Man, what a game. They're still talking about it today. It's huge.
Nice. Eric, you have the Syracuse Mets coming to town. And
oh, yeah.
That's terrific, and there are only like 30 days till spring training. How's the snow? Will the early April games be weather-related, you know?
Oh, they always are. Always.
Okay.
They're always in a rush they got to get the field ready. Like right now, it's buried. And there's been a lot of games that look pretty much like Christmas Eve or something, you know, opening day.
Right.
You know, I don't know how everybody's kind of split. with the Syracuse Mets because it's been the Chiefs for so long. It's been the Chiefs since 1930. You know?
Yeah.
So it's like the Mets brand, and the Mets bought us out. I mean, to like 2040 or 2050, you know, till the year 2050, something like that. Something like that. I think they're going to keep the Chiefs mascot, you know, Scooch, who's been around forever.
That is a great idea.
You know, just to kind of keep it Syracuse-y, I guess. There's a lot of old-timers that just, you know, everybody who we've been with, it's always been the Chiefs. We're with the Yankees, Toronto Blue Jays, the Nationals, who we're with right now, you know. What I like about it is you see these people in town, you know, pumping gas next to Bryce Harper at the Hess gas station. You know, where else am I going to do that but in Syracuse? You know, before he got called up to Washington, Bryce Harper was here in Syracuse.
I know, and we were talking, Marty Rose and Robert Cole and I on the Mets show last night about Bryce Harper and about the possibility that the Mets may sign him as a free agent. He would absolutely make them World Series contenders, and it would be his price is coming down because there's rumors of collusion to get the prices down. Machado and he are both not signed, and it may be the year that Wilpon opens up the pocketbooks and signs Bryce Harper. How cool would that be for you if Bryce Harper ends up a Met after all?
That'd be cool. He's not going to be in Syracuse, though, unless he gets
won't.
hurt or something, you know. Has to do a rehab stint.
But,
you know, when they do something like that, when big-name player comes down, the place is packed.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, not just the stadium. The interstates are blocked up, and, I mean, it's like a big deal up here, you know.
And don't be surprised if there's an exhibition game scheduled between the Mets up in Syracuse. I almost said the Chiefs, but the Mets up in Syracuse and the Mets in Queens. Don't be surprised if there's an exhibition game. I'd be shocked if there wasn't.
That would be something, huh?
Yeah, and I contend that Marty says that I'm full of it, that there's no way the Wilpons will open up their purse strings, and I'm an optimist. He's a pragmatist. So we'll see. We'll see. It's the year to do it because they really strengthen themselves without giving up any starting pitching. So I'm looking forward to that. Either way, I'm looking forward to the season. It's a long off season. And
yeah. We look forward to it too. Summertime, you know. Right. Not so much April, May, because we're still doing hockey then. You know, we're big on the hockey. But it's great. Right. I mean, to go out to the stadium here, I just sent you a shot of it on Facebook. It's covered in snow right now. It's like it takes you back. You know, you feel like a kid. They always have fireworks after the game, and it's just like small town kind of baseball. I love that. You know,
and your partner, the love of your life, is a big sports fan. How cool!
Oh yeah,
is that?
She's right there with me.
Yeah.
Everything. She's right there with me here. There's a good shot of the stadium right here. All
right. Well, here's an official invitation. I'd like you to come on the Met Show from time to time on this network and talk about who's coming up at Syracuse, how they're doing, and
this summer I'll know everything what's going on this summer. Right now I don't have a clue.
Call in once a month or so and talk about it and catch up on the minors, and we'd be honored to have you. Another 201 guy. Marty Rose lived in apartment 201 in the next building over, and we both lived in apartment 201. That'll be some cool beans.
Don't you remember the apartment, the layout? Wow.
Oh, yeah.
You know how big that living room was? You know, that's where I used to practice my Pete Rose head first slides. Pour out the carpet, you know? And
right.
My dad never complained about stuff like that, you know? He'd go off about others. My dad used to complain more about my schoolwork because I wasn't good in school, but as far as trashing the house and practicing slides and rolling in and out of the carpet, you know, I always had my skates on and a hockey stick, you know. He didn't complain. I had a big a red man chewing tobacco in my mouth. He didn't care, you know, just the schoolwork, and I wasn't good at it at all, man. I was awful at school.
Hey, Eric, we have another connect. You recognize my mother from pictures from the elevator.
Oh, yeah, I do. We rode the elevator. She'd smile, never say a word.
Yeah.
That's what you do in the elevator, though, right? You just smile and don't say a word.
Yeah, that's, you don't want to...
I'm sure she was looking at me, though, like, what is this kid up to? You know, got my skates on, got my shorts on. It's the middle of winter.
And we both shared the same sitting area at one time or another. And the same superintendent, he was the handyman. He won the lottery. He won, what was
I heard. This is after this is just before I went in the military. He hit the lottery. I don't know how big it was, but he kept his job, though. He still was Dave the handyman.
Yeah, Dave.
That fucker loves to chase us out of the sitting area, man. Holy shit.
Well, he almost gave my mother a heart attack. There was a kid that lived next door to me, very quiet kid, and his name was Neil Williams, and tragically, he was killed in Vietnam.
Oh, man, that's awful.
They brought some colonel out with a flag to go up to the apartment to talk to his parents and this, that, and the other thing. And Dave thought, because the kid was really not a socialite, not around the neighborhood much, so he didn't know. He thought that it was me, because I was in the Air Force at the time, and he thought it was me they were going up to see on the 4th floor. And he greets my mother on the street, and he says, "I'm so sorry about your son."
Oh, God.
I had no idea. And my mother, you know, she's counting that $10,000 insurance, and they had to tell her it wasn't. But, so Dave the handyman, and my father was absolutely, as am I, not mechanical in any way. So we depended on Dave for a lot of things that I'm sure your dad, you know, why bother to call the handyman? I can pick up a screwdriver myself. So
that's my dad was a complete opposite, like so am I.
Right.
Did everything. I mean, everything. You know, put the divider in that he divided our bedrooms for me and my sister. Really nice.
That's how you did it. We had what they call a room divider. That because
ours was really nice. It looked like a Swiss chalet with the paneling and the wood, made it real woodsy in there, you know. Nice door and everything, you know.
Yeah, that is very nice.
That's how my dad is. That's how I am.
Yeah. I'm the exact opposite. I mean, I
put a starter in the truck yesterday, laying in the driveway. It was like 6 degrees. You know, I lay out there under the truck. I put a new starter in.
You know, I've been following your Facebook and you for like 5 years now. You missed the frickin' Navy a lot.
Navy was good, huh?
Yeah, well,
I missed the flight.
To you.
I missed not a lot of the military stuff, you know.
Right.
But I like working with the jets on the flight deck. That was awesome.
Yeah. Oh, those are
like
the pictures. You posted a great
feeling, that badass feeling you get, you know, like riding my bike to Elm Jack Little League, knowing that I'm gonna murder it today, you know, because I was that awesome. I don't care who we're playing, I'm gonna get a hit, you know, just stuff like that. I was good at that. It was exciting. Plus, we got an extra $88 a month for hazardous duty pay, so you can't go wrong there, Ralphie boy.
No, you can't. I don't know what it brought it up to, but I can remember the Eagle shitting for me, and it was like after they took stuff out, it was like $60, whatever it was. You know,
you didn't make much.
No, you didn't make much.
But you know, it was great being 17 years old and going all around the world, and you know, it was that or Newtown High School. I hated school. I hated school way before I even got to Newtown. I knew this wasn't for me. I was always put in the dumbest classes.
Did you go
it was just the fucking worst time for me, man.
Did you go to 145, junior high school?
Yeah, 145. Before that was 127. I was always the only white kid in the class at 127. But we had the baddest teams in track and dodgeball, you know. We were the best. Those were the best years, too, at PS 127, you know. I used to go with...
My best years were at 145. Junior high school. I loved junior high school.
I liked it.
It
wasn't the
more
best.
than you can imagine. But
we was in 7th grade. They had like auditions singing, so I wanted to get out of class, and we did that. We had to take like singing lessons. So next year, in 8th grade, we go to start school, and it's like our teacher, or it was like a teacher playing piano, and we had like singing lessons. And that's what 8th grade was for me. So like, well, this is cool. And I used to, and my partner next to me, Christopher Martin, who went on to do the house party movies. I don't know if you're familiar with those. That was my buddy from the neighborhood, Christopher Martin.
I will look for those, and
you will see him. I'll send you some links. He went on to do the house party movies, and he's went on to be a big star. He's I think he's a teacher at some college in North Carolina now.
Wow.
And it was great. It was great, 8th grade.
He's a Heitzman.
Nah, he was more, I think, 94th or 90. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
He's from up that way.
Okay.
And he was my buddy, man. We used to bang on the desks. We would sing to each other. We would sing like the Saturday morning cartoon jingles to each other, you know?
Okay.
So we did.
Yeah. Mighty Mouse and what have you?
No. And talking like...
So I walk around the house to this day doing, here I come to wash the dishes.
Yeah. I do all that stuff. All that stuff. And I raised my kids that way, too, on HR Puff and stuff and all the stuff I watched. You know.
Right. It's fun being an eternal child, isn't it, on some level?
Yeah, and I like to go down. Well, it's been 2 years now. Last time we went down, I go down with the wife and the dog and to White Castles. We walk the boulevard.
Oh, yeah.
It's only about
same trip,
100-mile trip.
2 years ago, I came back, took a bed, what do they call it, Airbnb, on about 85th Street, and maybe a block up from Northern, between Northern and 34th. And we would, every morning, there's a deli on all kinds of restaurants in Jackson Heights, Colombian, all kinds of different nationalities. But there's a great deli up on maybe 37th and 82nd Street or 81st Street. And we'd have breakfast and then go into the city. I got to do the things that I never got to do as a kid because, or rarely got to do. I was a kid when I was in New York. So how much time do you spend in the city? I got to go to Central Park, and I took all those tours and the museums and the boat ride around the city. Spent, 5 or 6 days really enjoying that. Only problem is I don't fly, and I'm at the mercy of having to take a train, make it a 3-day each way.
Oh, God, that's brutal.
Yeah.
You should bite the bullet and fly, bud.
I know.
I'm telling you,
There's a lot of things I should do. A lot of things I should do.
There's nothing to worry about. Once you're up there, it's pretty much like being on a bus. And you're done in 5 hours. Well, you probably catch a layover maybe in Denver and then get on another flight. And once you make it from California to Denver, you've done it. So from Denver to New York.
We go nonstop from Oakland to New Jersey or LaGuardia or.
When I was stationed in Washington State, I used to do from SeaTac to LaGuardia nonstop. It was 5.5 hours from Seattle to LaGuardia. I used to go back and forth. I don't know how many times we went back and forth. Because then when I was on the Nimitz, you got to go back and forth on a military jet. I must have flown back and forth 40 times.
On a 135, right? I think that's what they flew across country at that time. In the Air Force, they called it hops.
Well, you could do that. You could fly. It's easy. There's nothing to it. They feed you food and pretzels and. I mean, back when I was flying, back when I used to do the Seattle runs there, I mean, it wasn't like today. I mean, I used to bring weed with me. I'd go in the bathroom and I'd smoke one up before landing, That was my ritual.
Right.
I sit down and get ready for landing, and I'd cruise into LaGuardia, and my parents would be waiting for me. You're talking the 80s. Turning and burning.
Good memories.
Good stuff. Memories.
Absolutely.
A lot of my buddies on here are from Washington State on the Facebook, all in the Navy with me. My buddy come right to my house. He didn't even tell me he was coming. Doorbell's ringing. I open the door, and my buddy's standing right there, Jeffro. He's like, trip you out. Yep.
Yep.
He come in and stay with us for the week. He's a character, man. All of them, they're all character. Everybody I know is a character.
Good. Well, you're right at home at the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network, and we found a minor league expert on the New York Mets. So I'm really thrilled that you're going to do that.
Sure.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Come back to this show as well, my friend, and keep checking in. I'm glad you're my homie.
Same here, bud.
All right. Regards to the family, and we'll talk soon.
Yes, sir. Have a good one, Ralphie.
All right, my man. Hey, thanks for listening. It's the Gall of the man. I got some Gall. Eric's got Gall, too. Do me a real solid if you're listening and enjoy any of our offerings on the network. Would you be so kind as to box up some new or lightly used children's books, and take them to the Head Start program wherever you live. Kids need to read. They need to develop an imagination. They need to get their noses out of the devices and the computers, and they need to be school ready. And by definition, the kids who are involved in the Head Start program need a head start. So bring some books over there, get a neighborhood drive going, whatever it takes, even a carton of books every now and again. They will really appreciate it. And we gotta look towards the next generation and make sure that they are educated. So thanks again for listening. I'll be back in good order. Adios. The proceeding was a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production. Thank you for listening.